All right. We are back with another episode of Ran Out of Tail, and I'm your host, Joe Zer Jr. And with me this week is my guest, Will Brinton. How's it going, Will?
Really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing about the same as you. I talked to you about we're both dealing with a little bit of illness, and I might have the same garbage as you.
Yeah, I've been like coughing and hacking like since
Yeah.
before Christmas. And um it didn't get really bad until we were on our way to the Chili Bowl. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like I had like a sinus thing or something.
Right.
And then when I got down there on like Sunday, it was just like, holy cow.
Yeah. Like I said, throat coat tea has been my savior. Don't get the eucalyptus throat coat tea. It smells like cat pee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, get the other kind.
Unless you like the smell of cat pee, get that one or
Yeah,
get the other one.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I made a cup of it around my wife, and she's like, because we have an old dying cat, and she thought the cat peed somewhere.
That's really funny.
Yeah, man, she's like 18, something like
Dude,
that.
dude, I had a cat to live to be 21,
Well,
and
now that
I had to put her down. Like, like
that sucks.
she didn't die of natural causes. I had to put her down.
So
But
my favorite cat died under the Christmas tree in 2016 on
yeah,
Christmas Eve.
uh, that's too
Yeah,
bad.
but this cat, we got her when she was already an adult cat. We got her from the Humane Society for literally $5.
That's a whole
Yeah.
lot of cat for a little price.
And well, we thought she was like gonna like die a couple months ago, but we've been feeding her separate than the big fat cat, and she's been kind of coming back.
Really?
Yeah. She just doesn't know where the hell she can see and she can hear, but I literally think she has feline dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had that once for a little while. It turned out I was just really bored.
Oh man. So Will, I always ask my guests, even though it's kind of a lame question, how did you get into RC and when did you get into RC?
um. Well, I mean, ever since I was like probably 6, I had like RC cars growing up. I mean, I could show you my first RC car. Give
Yeah.
me a second, I'll grab it.
Man,
I I found it. I found it a couple of years ago in a box. And I was like, I'm saving this. This has to be my first one.
yeah.
But it's a hold on, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
It's a Fisher Price police car. I was like,
Nice.
so I had this when I was like 2, and I never threw it away or nothing. So
Nice.
I was just kept it. But I
That's
mean, I've always had like gotten like Nickos and shit for Christmas.
yeah.
Um, but my first like, it's like found out like you could race these. It
Yeah.
was like with the 24th scale mini Z's,
Yep.
and then I raced 18 scale, and that both those kind of like coincided with each other.
Yeah.
Like I have my X-ray M18
Oh,
still.
you had the X-ray.
I had the HPI Micro Killer, and
Nice.
this is it.
Yes.
But hand painted by like I think I must have been 13 or 14 when I painted this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still have it. Then I had I was all into the associated 18 scale cars.
Yeah, I
And
was really into those as well. We used to race them at the very first MMR location. They
yeah,
were a lot of fun.
yeah. I really liked the little scale stuff or the little like 24th scale cars
Yep.
when that first was a thing. So like my first 24 scale car that I actually raced was actually an X mod.
Okay.
Um, like those ones you could get at Radio Shack for $50.
Yeah.
But upstairs in my attic, I have a trophy that's like this tall for
Yeah.
racing those. I won this race at a mall.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and then you could have gone, that was like a regional thing. And
Yep.
then like back then there was like this thing with the Fast and the Furious or whatever, where
Oh,
you could like race and win like an Acura NSX
nice.
racing 18
Like a
or
real one?
yeah, like a real one. There's some
Jesus.
promotional thing. I don't know if anybody won it. It'd be neat to see if there's like a thread on Reddit or something about that. But
I mean,
yeah, I
yeah,
won the regionals and I couldn't go to the nationals or whatever. I was
that
like,
sucks.
yeah, well, like back then it was like I just did it just to do it. I didn't
Yeah.
care. But because I was like, because that would have been 2002 or something.
Yeah.
So I would have been 12 or 13.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and then when I would turn 14, I started working at Hobbytown, 14 or 15, and I worked there until I was out of trade school. But I'd always
Gotcha.
raced RC cars while I was working at Hobbytown.
Okay.
Um,
The
my
one in
first,
Lincoln.
yeah, the one in Lincoln,
I
and
used to race at that outdoor on-road track, Nitro A scale.
yeah, yep. It's a shame to see that track go away because I spent
Oh,
Jamie Everson and I spent a ton of time out there.
yeah.
But
Anyway, sorry I interrupted.
no, it's okay. And then I saw off road and I felt like I wanted to do off road. And they had this race spec B4 that came with the
Mhm.
LRP runner speed control. I think
Yep.
that's what it was. And it had like one of those. It had actually had a pretty decent um, Reedy brush motor in it. I want to say it was a 27 turn though, or
What
maybe it
was
was like a night. Maybe I think it was 19 turn.
if it had flames on it, it was a 19 turn.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was 19 turn.
Yeah.
And I put together a battery out of like some stuff Jamie gave me, and I raced that. I was winning a bunch of club races with that thing.
Yeah.
I think I just threw on some IFMAR pins
Yeah.
and drove it.
That's
Um,
all you had to do back in the day. It wasn't, I mean, we say it wasn't that important back then, but it probably was, and we just weren't doing what we needed to do.
yeah. Oh yeah. Like I bet if I drove my car now from back,
Yeah.
like if I like teleported back and drove that car, like pushed my 15-year-old self off the driver's stand and started driving
Yeah.
it, I'd go, "What the hell's the matter with you, dude?" Like,
This is a pile.
yeah. Like, how are you driving this?
Right.
So, um,
Yeah. Did that
but
thing have the blue shocks on it?
yeah, it did. Yep, it had the
Nice.
little spring top or the little
Yeah.
keepers or whatever clips. And I remember somebody telling me I needed to rebuild my shocks. I'm like, what? I didn't even build them. Like,
Yeah.
it's like there's oil in these, you know.
Yeah,
So,
man. That's funny.
but
Uh,
yeah, I really got into it, and um, you know, I raced at the same time I was racing RC cars. I raced go karts,
yeah.
and I'd raced go karts till I was about 19, and then I raced micro sprints for about a year and a half, and
Okay.
then it just my dad was what I was gonna do is sell all the micro sprint stuff and
Yep.
start racing shifter carts, and I
Okay.
bought all the stuff to race shifter carts. My dad didn't have time to like travel with me because all those have been travel races, and I
Yep.
think he just wasn't into it anymore. He didn't care about racing, and which is fine. Uh, but he just didn't want to do it. So I sold all the stuff. It was like brand new. I spent a lot of money on
Oh, I bet.
chassis and some engines and tires, and was kind of getting involved as I went to a race and just watched. And I was like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah.
And uh, so that would have been when I was like 20 or 21,
Okay.
and maybe 22. And I I was always into RC car racing, and I would always do it during the winter or maybe on like a Friday night during
Yeah.
the week. And it's like, I'll just do this full time. I like doing it. And
Right.
so I just kind of went headfirst into RC car racing.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've always wanted to get into full scale racing, but it's like we were talking before, it's like every time I want to dip my toe in, somebody's just like, dude, it's more than you think. And when I get the money that they have, they say it's more than I think. They're like, well, it's more than that even. And
Yeah,
I don't want to spend 100 grand to race a street stock.
yeah.
I mean, it's not
I
that
don't
much.
know what those cost in your area. That might be the cheaper thing to race and the
Well,
thing that's easiest to get parts for.
well,
But
well, a turnkeys between 4 grand and 30 grand.
yeah, I mean, just depend. Yeah, I know, right? So,
If,
um,
if you see a B7 on Facebook Marketplace for
mhm,
$50, you probably want to run away.
yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, like my whole thing, like I raced a micro this summer a couple of times, and I was like, kind of wanting to do it again, and thought about just driving that car for somebody else. And the problem I have doing that is just like I didn't build it.
Yeah,
I don't know how safe this thing is. Um, ultimately, I'm not I'm not a kid anymore. I got a
right.
wife that kind of depends on me, and I have a decent job. And if I get hurt or something,
Yep.
I have to be able to do those things. And
I I
that's what
wish
kind
I
of,
had that thing. I wish I had that thing to stop me from doing things.
yeah. And
I don't
when
know.
I was driving that thing, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was thinking about. Is like, there's a gap, but it's between the middle of two cars for seventh place. And it's
Yeah.
like, do I go for it, and by that time it's too late.
Yeah.
And there's a really local famous sprint car driver that's passed away years ago now. His name was Lloyd Beckman, and he
Okay.
he said that when he was younger and winning all these races, he'd see a gap and go for it, and wonder how the hell he got through it.
Yeah.
Then later he sees a gap and goes, "How the hell am I going to get through there?" And that's when
Right.
he knew when it was time to retire. It's
Sure.
just like, maybe I'm at that point in my life where it
Yeah.
just isn't for me anymore.
Um, I don't know what that is in your brain that tells you, "Hey, stop. You shouldn't do that." I've
Yeah,
never had it. I
yeah,
wish sometimes, you know, I'm in my body's in fairly good condition for all the dumb shit I do, but
yeah,
I don't know how.
right.
One of my buddies builds motors for shifter carts. He races RC every once in a while. A man, Noah Stark.
Okay.
Yeah, he's big into building the engines for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then you race basically at the Hobbyplex from. I mean, you were there yesterday.
Yeah. That's my home track and my adopted home track. I
Oh,
have
it's
two.
only an hour away.
Yeah. Well, I have two home tracks. I
Okay.
have Jensen RC in Aurora, Nebraska, and then I
Okay.
have the Hobbyplex. I mean, but the Hobbyplex will always be my main focus. But those guys out at Jensen do a great job, and they're really passionate. But
So is Jensen Oval only?
yeah, Jensen is oval only. It's
Okay.
a sheep barn. Um, and they have a bunch of trophy races, and they get some
Yeah.
uh, pretty fast guys that show up out there to race. Um, like Doug Gott was there while I was at the Chili Bowl.
Really?
He was there a few weeks before that, and him and I raced together. He drove like 5 hours just to go there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a small track, but it's really high quality. And Rob Jensen, that runs the track and owns it, um, he really puts a lot of heart into that place. So
Well, that's the thing. If they do a good job on the track, it doesn't feel like a ripoff if you make the drive.
right,
Like I
yeah,
drive to Island, it's 5.5 hours for me.
right.
And Island was the first oval race I traveled for in any way, shape, or form. And I felt pretty good about it. I mean, I called you on the way home because I'm like, dude, what's the deal with people going back to small bore shocks? When's the
Yeah,
new velocity car coming out? Normally I'd keep my mouth shut about the new velocity car, but it's pretty well known at this point.
yeah. No, we're talking about it. We're allowed to talk about it now, and um, you know, it was kind of a hush hush deal for a little while, you know, just cause. Um, you know, we just kind of kept it quiet, and I've been running the car since, I'm trying to remember when I got it, and I don't want to be wrong, but I think that because it was at King of Dirt that Chris Baumgartner and I were talking about how I might have one
Okay,
sooner than later. That was in August.
gotcha.
So we ran. Okay, so I had one in November. The first time I ran it was at PT Hobbies.
Okay,
Um, so yeah, so I've had one since November. The first couple weeks in November,
right.
and we've been running this thing a lot, and that's why I try to do all these club races with it, just to try to get time on it and get feedback. Um, but yeah, I've been running 10 millimeter shocks on it,
Yeah,
um, and I like the smaller bore shock on oval.
yeah,
Um, I think it's more responsive, um, and I think that the suspension feels a little more isolated, or rather maybe exaggerated, to
yep,
where you can feel what the car is doing more. So, I mean, if there's a problem, it's a little bit more exaggerated, and you can kind of hone in on it.
gotcha.
Um, so that's what I like about it. Um, the 10 millimeter shocks just release the corner quicker,
Mm-hmm.
and even just the 10 mil springs do.
Right.
Because like yesterday, I ran the 10 millimeter shocks with a 12 millimeter spring,
Yep.
and it really tightened the car up. But the Plex is a little bit of a bumpier track, just
Right.
because it's not a purpose built oval.
Yep.
And I went to the 12 mil shocks, just to calm the car down, or not the shock, not shocks, but 12 millimeter springs
Yep.
on 10 millimeter shocks, just to kind of calm the car down. And it slowed it down a tenth, but
If you can do
it,
the same lap over and over.
yeah. And, you know, we're running, like, these are the tires I ran yesterday, and we run, these are just J Concepts, obviously, J
Yeah.
Concepts tires, but J Concepts silver smoothies.
Okay.
And I run these with the sidewall stiffener on the right front
Okay.
and
So you do glue as well.
glue.
Glue the right front sidewall as well.
Yeah, I do. I do both. I
Okay.
do the stiffener and the glue. And I've that's just what I've always ran, and it's always been really consistent. Um, but the track, we had a big temperature swing before
Oh,
the main, and so we had a lot of cold, dry air,
yep.
kind of suck all the moisture out of the track. So by the time we ran the A main, well, when we started the main, the groove was about that wide
Yep.
or so. Like there's enough on the bottom there that you could get it around. At the
Yeah.
end of the main, it was about that wide.
Oh
Like
no.
there wasn't really anything on the bottom anymore. Honestly, if I was smart enough to know and see it, I would have ran gold compound ellipses that were like 16th tread,
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
they'd have
say
blown everybody's doors off.
I've never really liked a full gold ellipse. If I run a full ellipse, I like the silver, but yeah, you would have
Yeah,
to really Chris Baumgartner is wondering what is Will's stamp of choice.
mushroom.
Yeah. Jacob and Lance are both checking in as well. Mushroom. Yeah. Yeah, I don't it's one of those things I talk to Rod because usually it's like, well, with the mini truggy stuff, I gave really good feedback on a lot of that stuff. And it's like, hey, can I maybe get in on this a little early? With the oval stuff, it's like, nope.
Yeah, no, I feel very fortunate that I have a car, and that I have a team that we work together so well, and we're a really tight knit group. And Rod and Chris are great to work with.
Yeah.
And if I need something, you just let them know, and
Right.
we'll work it out later. And but they're always so uh, smart and listen.
Right.
And I feel really fortunate to have one of these, because it's a bad motherfucker, dude. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a good car.
Well, the current offset is still pretty damn good at our home track.
Hmm.
and I let Joe 3 run it at the end of the race day because he's been on the struggle bus with the street stock, and I don't blame him because it's a spec tire, and it's like, I'm not a
Yeah.
big fan. And I let him drive my sprint, and immediately he was only a tenth off me. It's like, listen here, you little shit.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. So, I think I'm gonna have to wait till next year because last episode I had Dirk Anderson and Drew Boyd on, and they talked me into getting a vintage car. Speaking
Yeah.
of 10 mil shocks, well, it's the new gold stamp team car.
Oh, gold stamp, huh? Does that come in mushroom size or that's a joke. That's a
I figured.
yeah. Oh
um,
yeah.
well, the thing is, it's like I'm spending all this cash that could be going towards a sprint car for Joe 3, but and then
Yeah,
Chris
let him buy his own stuff. How old is he?
13.
Yeah, he
He's
can buy
getting
his own
there.
car. He can buy his own car.
He's getting close.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to bust ass to just, mowing my yard, mowing my neighbor's yard. That's when I
Yeah.
learned that I need to charge people more. My neighbor's yard had the same size as my old man's, but it went down in a bowl. Going up and down that piece of crap constantly sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's pretty soon he's gonna have to start. I mean, I've given him I gave the kid a freaking fifth scale.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, I can't complain. I got to race go-karts. I didn't have to pay for any of that. But my dad was like, "What? Like, you want to race go? I can." He's like, "I'll buy you RC cars, but like
yeah,
all the go-kart stuff's gonna go away." So,
yeah,
so I was like, "Oh, I like go-karts. I'll just like scoop lawns and mow driveways to to
yeah,
pay for RC cars." But and I did, dude. Like I had a during the summer because my parents are split. Actually, I
mhm.
made more money that way because my parents are divorced. So kind of like having two Christmases, right?
I was gonna
But
say,
the but I had like because I was here by myself during the day during the summer, and I had like 4 or 5 lawns that I do um, on those days here, and then when I was at my mom's house, I had 3 or 4 lawns that I do on that side of town. So it's kind of like all I did all summer was push a lawnmower around the block
yeah.
and mow lawns. And
So
I
did
even
you
like yeah. Oh, go ahead.
grow up in Lincoln as well?
Yeah, I actually bought the house I grew up in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought my old English teacher's house that passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is it
Elk
haunted?
River. No, well, I don't know. One of my dogs will not come down here. Like
Huh.
she
I smell a
refused.
mystery to solve, Joe.
Yeah, no. It's just it's the reason I use it to blame why my RC shit doesn't work the best.
Yeah.
um so you went to the Chili Bowl. I was looking for the main on Live RC's YouTube, but they cut it. They cut the
Yeah.
last two.
Yeah. Yeah, I got caught. I don't know why. I was kind of disappointed because I got home and I wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang it, you
It's
know?
literally they cut out 79 and 80.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So let's start out with your late model because you've been doing some funky stuff to that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Um, how did that one work out? I don't think you didn't quite make the A in that one.
No, I didn't, but I bumped twice in the
Really?
semis with it. Yeah. So
Nice.
I was in the quarter main or no, it'd be in the 1/8 because I bumped
Okay.
twice. So yeah, I was in the 1/8 and um I so when I was down at the Chili Bowl, I had the flu. I must have. I don't know what I had.
Yeah.
That's why I sound like this. I sound like Steve-O or Robert Kennedy Jr. or something like,
Yeah.
oh man, you got to have beef tallow. I mean, that's exactly,
Lunch Lady Doris.
yeah, lunch lady Doris. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't sound very good, but
Yeah.
this is better. Believe it or not, this is better than what I was while I was down there.
Yeah.
And so I was I got down there, or so I had this cough like since Christmas, and
Okay.
just kept getting worse. And then it was like that, but a lot longer and worse.
Yeah.
But so I had this cough, and it just wouldn't go away, and it just kept getting worse. And so we go down to the Chili Bowl, and on my way down there, I'm like, I still feel okay.
Yeah.
Like I just have this cough, and maybe I just have like something, I don't know, like I had cold or allergies or something. So we get down there and we're unloading, and it just kind of hit me all at once. I was
Oh,
like, oh no, this
no.
can't be good. And every day by about, probably noonish, I'd already sweated through my hat. I sweat
Wow.
through my shirt. I was pretty rough. I would really did nothing but sit in my pit and stare at my car and just worked on my sprint car. Because I mean, that's the class I care the most about, is sprint car.
Right. I
So
love it.
yeah, I just worked on that, and that's about all the energy I had. To,
Hmm.
like I was taking a lot of Dayquil and Nyquil, and it was it was pretty rough down there. So
Right.
for me anyway, but I don't know how I ended up doing as well as I did. I mean,
Is
imagine
it
if I
kind of
felt
like
good.
is it kind of like your flu game?
I don't know.
Like
I
Michael
told the
Jordan
guys,
had that hangover game that everybody calls the flu game?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's what Todd was saying. He was like, "Oh, you're probably gonna drive better because you're more focused since you're sick." I'm like, "Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it'll all work out." And
Yeah.
I told Frank Root that I was gonna, or actually, I told everybody, I was like, I was gonna unlock my inner Michael Jordan and
Yeah.
win this whole thing because, like he did against the Utah Jazz when he got food poisoning.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a joke. But so
Yeah. It's
so I was pretty rough, and that's why my late model kind of went the way it did.
okay.
Um, but uh, Kyle Gannon's late model was a lot better than mine, and we ran the our main, and he had kind of some unfortunate luck, and he bumped up uh, to the first main that I was in late
Mhm.
model, so it would have been like the eighth or something, and we're both in the same one. I said, dude, if you're coming by, I'm just gonna let you go, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. Like I don't care about late model, and my car hasn't been really great. Um, but he fucking he went trucking right by me, and he had some unfortunate luck, and I ended up winning the main.
Damn.
And so I just handed him my card. I was like, whatever you did to yours, do it to this one,
Yeah.
and because yours was better than mine. And man, that thing just turned on like a light switch. It was really good.
Yep.
And I was like, man, we got a race car now, dude. And so I bumped out of that main, started last, bumped again, and that was the end of the bumps because that I would have ended up in the A. But
Okay.
but yeah, it worked out pretty good. I mean, that's probably exactly how I did last year at late model
Right. Right.
because I
Ray-
was in the semis of both.
Raymond was saying he sounded like death the whole time.
Yeah.
Rob Moots checking in. So,
So Moots.
um, I had a lot more questions and I just blinked. That's why I'm still kind of, I did that podcast with Drew and Dirk and I didn't remember any of it.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. It's like I staying home from jujitsu. I ain't stay home from work. There's no point in staying home from work. I work behind a freaking desk now.
Yeah.
So, um, so how many times did you have to bump with sprint? Did you make it directly into the B or the
Uh,
semi?
yeah. I was in the semifinals in sprint car.
Okay.
My qualifying for sprint car, if I went with, because I seated 17th, and
Yeah.
that might not sound great, but
No,
I
how many were there? Like hundreds?
I thought there was like 110 on like 90 or
Yeah.
something. Um, but I felt like I should, like, my seating round went really well,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, this could happen. My car is really good, and I felt like my car, the way it was balanced and felt, could have been in the top five probably pretty easily.
Yep.
And I seated 17th. I was like, well, that's okay because I went out on a third track, like in the sprint car group,
Yep.
um, or like the third heat of the first sprint car group
Yep.
after the rebuild. So there was like late model, maybe Midwest modified, then sprint car,
Okay.
and then I was the third heat of sprint car.
Gotcha.
So it's like when you get to that middle of sprint car, middle to the end, maybe a little more like 2/3 towards the end. It's like the last two heats, the track just goes like exponentially
Yeah.
faster and gets easier to drive on. So I felt really good about my seating to be 17th on that track.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
so I won my first heat, and then I was leading my second heat with like a corner to go, and I ran into a flipped over lap car or Marshall's foot. I can't remember. It all happened so fast, and so I ended up getting second. Um, and then second heat, um, unfortunate luck, ended up second again. Well, after leading,
Yeah.
and so I was BQ. No, I rolled out second in the B.
Okay.
I think second or first. I can't remember, and I ended up barely getting the bump. Um, I can't remember the guy that was behind me, but I slowed down for lap traffic, and he ran
Mhm.
into me, and he waited.
Well,
And
at
it was
least
like
you
the
made it.
lat. And if you watch it on the video, you could see him stop. And I
Yep.
can't think of that guy's name, but I did go over and tell him, thank you. That was really good sportsmanship. He's like, he's like, yeah, it stings, but um, I wanted to make the show, but I didn't want to do it like that. I'm like,
Right.
dude, you're a stand-up guy. Thank you.
You know, I've
So
been announcing Oval a little bit this year, a little bit last year as well. And you can't call incidences as a race director because by the time you call it, that was a lap ago.
yeah, it's
You know,
tough.
you just
I
got to
don't,
let
I
things
don't,
happen.
yeah, I don't expect Scotty to like call
No,
anything other than track cutting or something. But
right.
you know what I mean? It's like how do you pay attention to that, or how do you enforce something like that? You'd have to give them like a drive through, but at the end of
Right.
the day, it's like you can penalize them. It doesn't fix your
But
race. Your
you're
race is
still
still
screwed.
gone. Yeah, your race is still long gone.
Chris
Like,
is saying it was Justin Atkinson. Really good dude, does it right.
yeah, yep, yep. So,
So you
yeah, he's a stand-up guy.
I did watch the A main.
Hmm.
Love the memorial beforehand, all that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were going to do that. That was super
Yeah,
cool.
it
I
was.
yeah, I thought it was awesome. I got to be out there for that.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Um, you capitalized on an early race wreck, man. So I'm trying to tell my non-RC buddies, like, all of you guys are on the same basic lap time within maybe a couple hundreds. There's
yeah,
no tenth per lap. If you're a tenth of a lap down, you're probably at the bottom of the B.
yeah,
Um, so I'm like, it's really close, and then it's just like there wasn't a lot of racecraft shown. There was some really big mistakes that happened that were very avoidable, but that jumped you up to sixth place right away. I mean, I know you obviously want to do better always,
yeah. Oh yeah.
unless
I mean, if
unless
there's a
you're
spot in
winning.
front of me, I want it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But I mean, from bumping from the B and then going from 10th to 6th, that is a freaking awesome wheel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was pretty cool. I ended up seventh overall, but
7th overall? I thought
yeah, I
I read
I
it
was
wrong.
up I was up to sixth, and I had a incident with some lap traffic, and I ended up seventh.
Yeah.
But still, to be up to sixth, I have nothing to be ashamed of there.
So how was this year's well, you were sick. It's so hard to compare like this year's Chili Bowls experience compared to last year's
Yeah,
because you aren't weren't normally an oval dude. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
RC oval. You're a two-wheel drive buggy guy and a stadium truck guy.
yeah.
I mean, you crushed on what was it, the Was it the INS series you got the win in Stadium Truck, or
Yeah,
was it? Okay,
yeah, it was INS.
gotcha. So after going 2 years in a row, are you going a third
Yeah.
after everything's? Because it's like, okay, for Vegas, for fifth scale, I've been to Vegas twice,
Hmm.
and it's a really good race, but I think I've been enough.
Hmm.
Right now, it's no longer worth the crazy amounts of money to go, and I kind of want to find somewhere else to bring my fifth scale, like maybe out to New Hampshire or something like that.
Yeah. No, I plan on going again next year. It the thing that I really like about the Chili Bowl, like from last year to this year. So last year was my first experience there.
Yep.
Really did that was the first race I think I'd ever ran sprinter tires on oval,
Okay.
and I got the tires kind of figured out a little late. And once I had that, that's where I saved a lot of time this year. I kind of knew what the track was going to do. The
Right.
the track was the exact same as last year.
That's
Like it was
super
very
nice.
consistent. Um, the like you can always count on some tire wear for the semifinals, with the track getting a little more abrasive, and then they farm it and it gets less runs on it before the next time you run on it.
Hmm.
The But I was very impressed with that because I had saved all my tires from last year,
Okay.
and I numbered them and or labeled them, um, for which run they were, and just like what corner they're on and how much wear they had. The ones I had from this year that I coded the same for the same thing look
Hmm.
nearly identical. Like you sit them
Okay.
next to each other, and like they look like they say like they could have been from this year. You swap them around. So
So that was another question I had. So for tire prep, how far did you sand the sprinters down?
so let me find one real quick. I think I might have some that aren't um, used,
Oh,
and I
uh,
can show you where I grind them down to,
okay.
um, before I run them.
Yeah.
Um,
Peter Bartell checking in. He's saying he's
the
listened to all your episodes with Alex on the Hobbyplex podcast.
Yeah,
When are
oh
you
yeah.
guys doing another episode?
When
Yeah,
we're a little fewer and far between right now,
I
um,
know.
but it's more about my schedule than anything as
Well,
to
that's
why
why
we don't.
that's why I kind of well, we were talking about not doing this because we both feel like warmed over dog poo. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't feel like warmed over dog poo, but I lost my voice last night announcing. I'm surprised I've got it back to this level.
yeah. I'm actually sounding better than I did on Friday at work. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
But um, okay, so I have this tire, and this one's a little on the tall side, but I don't know if I can hold it up to the camera.
I
You can
can
see.
see it. Yeah. So you're
So
taking about half off.
yeah, there's that bar
Yep.
right there that goes across
Yep.
the top,
Yep.
and it's in the middle of the pin. So a new
Okay.
tire has that like that lug sitting on top of
Right.
it.
Right.
And what I do is I use you have to use something very abrasive. And
Yes.
the reason why that is you want it to cut the material. You don't want it to rub and just get hot and melt it.
Right.
So I use some really abrasive sandpaper. Or, there's companies that sell like a tool or whatever. I use sandpaper.
Gotcha.
And what I do is I actually try to break them in both directions
Yep.
so that that's just a square on top.
Yep.
That's all that's on there. And then what I do is I hit them with Scotch Brite to
Yep.
kind of deburr them because they have like a bunch of the
Yeah.
little fuzzy wigglers on there, and you don't want
Yeah.
that on your tire.
No.
And so I get that loosened up, and then I take duct tape and I just use regular old. Well, it's
Yeah.
actually I use T-Rex tape. That
Yeah.
stuff works the best.
Okay.
Um, so if you don't have T-Rex tape, um, I use like regular black duct tape, and I just like get it like a baseball
Yep.
kind of, and just peel it off, and it
Yep.
pulls all the loose rubber off.
Nice.
Um, then after that, I do PB blaster and a rag
Yeah.
and burn them in on my drill.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And yeah, and it works really good. And you do your prep the night before,
Yeah.
and I I use one of these like containers
Okay.
to put my tires in. I'll sauce them real
Nice.
heavy and throw them in there
Okay.
after I burn them in with the rag, and
Oh,
then those are my race tires.
nice. Yeah, man. I mean, that sounds now this is a question. This is the if I ran the event scenario, would you rather have a bar tire or have it open tire?
Um, I think control tire. Um, I know this isn't what you asked, but I think
Yeah.
control tire for a race like this is very important.
Yeah. But
Because like,
what I
but
meant
no,
is
yeah,
would you rather have the control tire be a bar tire kind of?
right. I don't know if I would. It for sprint car, yeah, probably.
Okay.
And the reason is they run sprint car late enough in the round or in the track build session that you could get away with it. The problem is with other classes, if they did that, like late model, if they because they ran the quasi speed tire for late model, and it looks like this. I mean, is it
Yeah.
a bar? Is it a pin? Like a pin?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little bit of both, I think.
Right.
Um, the uh, you know, like you could run this in the loam, and it would go. Um,
Right.
could you do that with a ellipse?
No,
I don't know. You'd be hard pressed to do it.
because
I
we have a
think.
little bit of loam at our local track, and if you get into that loam, you're spinning donuts for a lap.
Yeah. So I think that I really feel like the Sprinter is a good tire for what we're doing. Um, with the amount of dust that gets built up on that groove, um, it works, and everybody's on the same tire. So it's like, why change it? Um,
Right.
but it's kind of like you'd almost have to test with it um, during the event, the like for the next year to see if it's going to work
Ah,
well, and have somebody that can like run the middle, like the upper part of the track. I just have a feeling that if they ended up they ended up doing that with the ellipses, you'd have guys ended up going to slicks
okay. Yeah.
more confidently,
Sure.
um,
Sure.
like because you could make. I mean, like when the tracks are abrasive, you could potentially run a ghost tire, or at
Yeah.
least roll on quarter tread,
So,
at least go out on that. And like my late model last year, I ran one set of those Pro Line um, whole shots, and I think I actually have them
well, that
right
brings
here.
up Peter's question: how many runs does Will get out of a set of those tires?
Which ones?
Well, I'm guessing the sprinters.
The sprinters. I was grinding them down so low. It just depended on when I ran in the round. Um, like if they came off and they were bald, I mean, because like okay, so these are the tires off of my late model last year in the semis, and these
Yep.
had half tread when I went out, and that's what
Oh
they
yeah.
looked like. That's my right front.
I
That's
was
my
gonna
right
say I can
rear.
tell which one is.
So they still have the dirt on them,
Yep.
from last year, and I stuck them up there. Um, so, uh, but yeah, I did run some tires, um, but uh, I don't I don't know. I mean, and there was times where I came off and my tires are too low to run again.
Okay.
There's other times they looked like I could have ran them again, but I just wanted a fresh set on.
But I mean, at a race like a chili bowl,
Yeah.
that doesn't. You don't want to be budget racing at.
So I
I
showed
mean,
up
I
with
wouldn't.
yeah, I showed up with 6 sets of tires and I used 4.
Okay.
So, if that kind of puts it into perspective.
Did you prep all 6?
I did. Yeah, they
Okay.
were all ready to go.
Okay.
So, I got
Gotcha.
some club race tires for the summer, but,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm looking forward to some of that summer oval because I've been hearing they have 10 million tracks in Iowa.
Yeah.
And that's and you know what? I think everywhere except for my local track, I'm gonna try to run modified.
Yeah. I'd like to do a Midwest mod. I think that'd be cool.
No, I'm
I've
gonna do
never
modified sprint
Oh, mod sprint. Oh, there you go.
because
Sorry, I don't even think about the
no,
stock
you're fine.
classes.
No, so at our local track, you
Yeah.
can't use a mod.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have 13.5 sprint. My throttle's at 90%. One of the faster kids puts a 17.5 in his car so he can run 100% with good throttle curve.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's
What's the
just
lap times there?
well, Clayton decided, hey, I'm gonna become ridiculous and untouchable. So usually we're at 3.7, 3.8. Clayton last night was getting down to 3.5 and he broke out in a 3.4 with his late model.
Really?
Yeah, like and it's weird. We had this discussion a little bit last night. It's we were talking about, are we getting better or is the track getting better? Because like a 31 lap run would have probably got you in the A last year. This year you need 34.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of fun. So Austin's wondering about small bore shocks. We talked about that earlier, man. Sorry. It's just more responsive with the small bore. JB saying the lack of give and take at some of the oval races is really bad, but there are still a lot of good guys out there. That's everything, JB. Even with off road, it's just not as magnified. Yeah, I've been having a but so that track I told you about in Kellogg, to
Mhm.
where I was 100% pinned around the track because the grip was so good. Um, that's a track I would love to run mod at. At Island, I would love to run mod.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna leave 13.5 to the boy and run mod this summer when we're not running the fifth scales. Because that's another thing. I keep saying that's another thing you could go so deep into just because of the motor.
Yeah.
It's a two-stroke. Well, mine now has a Reed engine. The stock engine is not a Reed engine,
Mhm.
but my mod motor, there's a lot to play with there. Are you
Right.
still doing motors on scooters and stuff?
Oh, I mean, if I have a scooter, I'm going to do a motor on. I'll do my own engine, but
Yeah.
the Zuma is still out there. I mean, I still have that Trail 70 I restored.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, my Zuma, that thing's still out there. I think it's still full of leaded gas. Like the uh, no, that I haven't really had one to do, but if I had one to do, I would do it. But
So
there's
you're
a
not
guy here
gonna
in town that's trying to get me to build an engine for him, and I don't like building engines for other people very often. So
yeah, you're not gonna do Alex's.
Alex, oh no, no, that's 4-stroke, dude.
Yeah, it's true. I was sitting here thinking about getting like a Grom. You're kind of getting away from like the scooter aspect with like a Grom or maybe even as small as a monkey.
Yeah, I mean those are cool bikes. I just don't like. I almost bought one. I was at the dealer. I was like, man, I really wanted one of the monkeys,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, that fuel injected 125 would be pretty nice. And I kind of was like, for $5,000, you can get a lot more bike for a lot less money.
Right.
Like for what it is. I mean, I don't know. That's just a lot. I think they're really expensive for what they are. They're really cool though.
Right, right. So here's the question, because I'm sure you had to change your setup quite a bit my question is, do you have to change your setup quite a bit going from like the chili bowl to the hobbyplex, or is it fairly simple, like maybe shock oil and a couple of roll center changes and
All I really did was move my hubs up. Um,
okay,
that's about all I really had to do. I didn't really do a lot. And rear steer, and I took the brass arm off my car. I had a brass arm
okay.
um, on my
Left
car.
rear,
What's that?
left rear.
Yeah, left rear.
Yeah.
I
So you
took that
take
off
that
of
off,
my
huh?
car. What's that?
Why do you take that off on it? I've always left mine on.
We're running slicks on a pretty
Okay.
high grip track. So usually, like with my left rear arm, you start out on a track that's maybe bigger, longer straightaway,
Yep.
and you need to drive straight down that straightaway, right? So
Right.
use a brass left rear arm and plant that left rear
Yeah.
to kind of launch you down the straightaway. Well, so the grip starts coming up, and use a little more rear steer, a little more rear steer, and all of a sudden you're out of rear steer,
Yep.
right? And you
Yep.
got that brass rear arm on there. Well, that brass arm kind of makes it stall mid corner once it transfers that left rear.
Okay.
And so then you take it off, then you can take rear steer off because you got more grip, and
Mhm.
then your car goes faster, and
Okay.
maybe gets a little easier to drive and put it in the groove.
I'll be
Um,
damned.
so that's kind of for me, like rear steer and the brass left rear arm or the McAllister disc.
Yep.
Whatever left rear weight you choose kind of coincides with the amount of rear steer I'm running.
Yep.
So if I run out of rear steer and I got that on, well, I'll take it off and then kind of dial back my rear steer, and it'll feel about the same and just go faster.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, man, now you've given me something else to try. Um, so what's your next? Do you have any big events, or are you just gonna kind of chill out a little bit and
Um, I don't have anything really planned that I know about. Oh, no, I do have something planned.
okay.
In March, I'm doing Eric Larson's um, invitational race at Need for Speed in Garner City, Kansas.
Okay, cool.
So,
That
or
sounds
no,
like
is
a
it
lot of fun.
Garner City or Gardens? I think it's
I don't
Garden City. I always think Garner's like Garner Industries, but I think
you,
it's I think it's Garden City, Kansas. And I'm
yeah.
gonna I'm gonna go there. It always works out pretty good. I went last year and I got second in the invitational sprint car,
Okay,
and I actually from the bump. So
that's
and
good.
with two it was double A mains, and
So are you saying
uh,
that's the one Alex announces at?
yeah, that's so
Okay,
Alex and I will ride down there together. And last year Brian Byrne came with us,
that's
and
cool.
it worked out pretty good because I got to hang out with Alex, and he didn't race oval, and we got to go to a race together. So
Yeah. God, I bet I mean, every time I listen to you guys, I listen to your podcast often, except you guys didn't put the latest episode on the RSS feed, but I'm guessing that's more Margie.
yeah, it's on Apple. I know that because I listened to it. I was in
Okay.
the Chili Bowl. I always listened to it to make sure I didn't, say something I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
I I listened to the first 5 minutes and then I just shut it off because I have a mush mouth.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm gonna
I listened
I'm
to
gonna
the
blow
full
my
up.
nose real quick. Yeah,
That's fine. I'll
talk
mute it.
amongst yourselves.
I'll mute it. All right,
Oops.
unmuted.
Okay. Ugh. I'm
Hold on.
still blowing dirt out of my head.
That's gnarly. That mute button works slick.
Yeah.
So yeah, next week we have the Shark RC Bodies wild card race, their first race in their series at our local track. I'm just announcing I don't know. Ooh, Rob's saying you got to go out to Auburn, California in July.
Yeah. Dude, I would love to do all these. I'd love to go out there. Auburn looks like a really badass track.
Well, that's the thing. I told because Matt Olson from Mod Media, he's not the biggest fan in the world of oval, but
Yeah,
he gets oval races. It's like send me, and then like during my race, you can put on the fisheye lens and whatever, and it's like I would love because I'm going to that vintage race and that covers. I get to go to that race for free, and it covers the cost of my car. I just have to sit and talk in a booth for the entire weekend. I
yeah,
don't. I love it.
yeah.
So, I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm trying to get Matt to be like. I'm trying to ask Matt to get some more oval events.
Oh, and I guess in back, I was kind of looking at my car here. The other thing I did change though for the Plex is I changed my hexes. I went from a, a 5 left rear and right rear.
Yep.
I put a 4 on my left rear, and then I went to a 7 on my right rear,
Okay. Okay.
just to change to get the more of an offset feel. And it
Gotcha.
also makes the car turn more.
Cool. Cool. So one more kind of technical question. Do you still have your 12 millimeter shocks ready to go if it gets a little rougher than you're used to?
They are. I mean, they're sitting there in the box, all drooped out and everything. But yesterday, I didn't want to. I wanted to make the 10 mils work. I wanted
Okay.
to keep working on that setup because I feel like they're better.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do have a set. Actually, I think I have 4 sets of associated shocks,
Well,
just all different stuff in them from when I was running the VSA.
on the
Um,
off-road side, I really do believe they've gone way too far with the 13 millimeters.
mhm,
Ah, man, I think they could with the off-road big bores make a little more sense, but not that much more.
mhm.
And speaking of droop, so you really have me playing with that now.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what a millimeter difference, a couple mils make.
In the rear, I'm running about 4 more millimeters than your standard,
Yeah,
just because track's a little looser and can get a little bit bumpy.
yeah,
But yeah, and again, oval man. I never thought I'd like it, but I don't know, I probably started a few months after you with that Midwest mod.
yeah,
Midwest mod's all right, and there's a lot of good racing in it, but there's nothing like driving a sprint.
yeah. Like sprint cars, kind of like the mod buggy at oval.
Yeah, it is for sure. All right, we've been going for about an hour, and I'm really glad he kind of hung on. Well, I was going to cancel. Actually, about an hour before we started, I was going to cancel because the internet went out, but it came back on.
Oh, got
Yeah,
lucky.
well, yeah. So I really appreciate your time. Yeah, where can everybody find you? Like socials and all that stuff.
I just do Facebook and Instagram. There's my personal pages. I don't do the whole like pro driver page or
Yeah. Yeah.
anything like that. I don't believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm
Also the
not.
Hobbyplex page or the
Yeah,
Hobbyplex podcast.
yeah, the Hobbyplex show and YouTube channel.
Yeah.
If like and subscribe.
Yeah. I
um,
I enjoy your guys' banter a lot on it. I mean,
yeah, even if you weren't into RC cars, I think that people would like to listen to us.
well,
We were going to
Alex
do
is,
another podcast that was just dedicated to reading 1-star reviews for businesses.
that would be awesome.
But we just never did it. So
Or what else you should do is maybe do a podcast of confusing Alex with Simpsons quotes.
yeah, that would be funny.
You could
That
go
would be a really
all day long.
cromulent podcast.
You know, my buddy named his 3D printing company Cromulent Designs.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's awesome.
And I had a Homer Simpson moment to where it's like, hey, who are you calling slow? It took me like a month. I'm like, wait, what?
That's funny.
So, all right, guys. Yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in for this one. Check out Will on the Hobbyplex podcast and on his socials. I'm Joe Zer Jr., and with me was Will Brinton, and we've ran out of talent. Have a good night, guys.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys.